That's okay? Thank you so much.
I have to remove it from airplane with the secure game.
Okay, and then put it on airplane. You know what I mean? Well, no, you need to go, you need to go Wi-Fi. You should be able to do it.
I did Wi-Fi with like secure cane. It says I can.
Okay, so do it, but then make.
Well, I'll see you at 6:30.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome to leave your bag here if you like.
I'll take it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Vanessa, come up and log into Blackboard and we can talk about everybody's home. Yeah, thanks, good idea when you call.
Yeah,
Right. Where's the rolls? You going around? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, okay. So did you do, Vanessa, did you go to your group? Go to your home? Okay. So you want to bring up the chart? You did a nice job too, showing kind of like what stuff actually is.
Top 30 points this week. Yeah, I just needed it so I could pull it.
That's, oh, you just seen one again?
What? You were in the wrong class? And you were sitting there?
Yeah, I read it, because it said at, you don't have, around the pilot, so, there's absolutely no exit. Or it's, there will be a, it still should be, yeah.
Is it coming out?
It said it's not responding.
I found that
Oh,
issue.
there we go.
Everything's still, maybe for the first time, it's never done, you know what I mean?
Oh, I don't know why.
What do you mean?
Okay. So what happened?
I used the numbers, I didn't increase the numbers until I have to have it.
Okay, folks, welcome back. Good to have you all. Just a couple of reminders here. Housekeeping, this Wednesday, there's no class. Who has class next near here on Wednesdays? A 3:30 class or 4? It's gonna be here on Wednesday. Anyone have a class? And if someone is here, Dan, can you do me a favor? On Wednesday, just put a note on the board that there's no class on Wednesday, just pass by. This way, people aren't aware of it. I try to send out everything. Okay, what else? Okay, Vanessa volunteered to show off her good work. And she's done an excellent job in trying to figure out, looking at data and trying to do what? So we got data here on the open, and what does your model tell you, Vanessa?
That the trend lines are pretty similar to the.
Okay, it's pretty similar, and you're using what company?
This is Apple.
Okay, she did Apple, she did a Poly Apple, and probably the best thing later on to do, Vanessa, is to change your coloring, right?
Of the trend line itself.
Of the four, yeah, does it do it or no?
I tried, but it wouldn't show up.
Okay.
I don't know how to do it.
Change chart type, format trend line, and see here on the, on this little, you got it? O, don't you love O? I love O. When somebody says O, it means maybe it works. Let's see. Does it?
Yeah, I just need.
Perfect. Okay? So you can play around with it so we can differentiate. Okay, so my question to you is this. We're seeing Apple. We're looking at, and what do we have? We have what? What kind of forecast? We're using a linear, and we're using also a poly, and you also did even log to see which was the best model. My question to you is this. One says it looks like what, Vanessa? That it was kind of straight and then what?
It goes down.
Goes down. Another one looks like it was basically flat. We want this to do what, AJ? We want to write a program and have it all automated that every morning, in the morning, it will tell us, and also the computer will, based on the models, tell us whether to buy or to what? To short a stock. Is it going to go up or down? Number one. And number two, we have to check what? To see how well the model worked. AJ, do you think the model is 100% accurate? No way. And right now, we forecasted, but how well did it really do? Well, we don't know if it didn't. How do you know?
Because I checked today.
Right, so one of the things here is we have to check the day, and what did it do at the open?
It actually went shut up.
Okay, well, we have to check. We have to check whether it at the open, right? We have to see, and how many periods did we forecast? 6. We can make them different, right? We can do 6 periods, and we can forecast. So one of the things that we want to look at, and then go to the right, go all the way to your right, all the way over, yeah, and then go back. go to the middle where your data is. Okay, and the question is what's the difference between your different R squares? So we got the data, and probably in the data here, this starts at 820, right? And let's go down, right? And it went to 914, and 914 was what? Last week, right? So what should we do? AJ, how can I test the model? Oh, let me see here in the trend lines. Go over here, this box. And you may want to move the box a little bit too so we can see. Okay, right. So basically, we want to even look between the linear and the logarithmic, right? And to what power did you do the logarithm? You just did power of the polynomial, right? You got 0.90, and you have, some of you started doing the trend lines, and for instance, what is the difference here? Here you want to put a difference. Put here just the word diff, D-I-F, right? And then here, and then put your cursor right here. And what do we want to do? We want to take the polynomial, just go here and say equal, put the equal sign, and then point to this cell where it says 0.9023, right? Minus what? Put a minus sign. And then we wanted to see how does it differ from the linear. Okay, so it was 41%. It looked like the R square was improved, but do we get really an accurate position? So my next assignment for you, she's done an excellent job, Vanessa, in terms, later on she'll go back and you'll just change, right? The poly and the linear. Let's go back up to the graph, right? And the next thing we want to do is see here, she has 20, 9, 14, and when do we have class, right? We want to go, these were kind of, she was forwarding 6 forward, so we want to be able to see how it's going to look forecasting. So my next assignment from you, if I go to my Blackboard, and you can go to Blackboard as well, I'm going to take over, okay? Perfect. Excellent.
Yeah.
Very nice. Nice job. And you guys can look at it. I've looked at it earlier in the afternoon. I looked at it. And earlier in the afternoon, I looked and I saw that some of you have done an excellent job. Other people didn't, just had one. You want to take at least one stock, have like 3 stocks per group. Let me see if I can, why am I not able to see? Can you see my screen? Let's see. Okay, you can see my screen. Beautiful. Okay, so let's see what I want for the next step then. So I'm going to go to your regular course, BTE 210. Everybody with me? Go to your regular course of BTE 210. And on the very bottom, under course documents, you should see XLSX. Everybody see it? Yes? So open that folder. And let me see if I can open this. Let's see if we can open it. Let's see if it'll work. So Claudine, what do I need to figure out doing? So what's the problem? First of all, what's the problem?
What do you mean, what's the problem with the,
Then what's the next step? What do we need to do?
oh, you need to compare your 6 days forecast with what it is right now.
Right, and what would I want to find out?
Well, you would hope that it matches, in other words, accurate.
Well, I know it's not going to match 100%, but what am I going to look for? I'm going to look for what? The errors, and I'm going to look if the errors are over or under, right? So basically, what I want to be able to do, let me open up in going. What I wanna be able to do, showing folder, let me see, showing folder, is I wanna find out the error rate, and I wanna find out the direction. Why is that important, Claudine? You're on a roll.
So that you can improve the model.
I can improve the model. That's basically, remember I talked about quant traders? Who remembered talking about a quant trader, right? We talked about quant traders. They have to basically revise the models constantly. Because guess what? The markets change constantly. If I could just do one model and it could run for years and years, they wouldn't be paying somebody starting off at 200 grand. They'd be paying them, 20,000, right? The whole idea is to try to figure it out, each one. Let me see if I can open then this one. Let's see. Vanessa, you want to do me a favor and come back here and then just try it on this machine too, in case this one's not working. Just open up the same one. Okay. Everybody get it? Did it work? When I uploaded it, do you have the Excel on your machines or no? Yes, it worked? So what are you seeing from there? So in this case here, all right, so let me just do then, have another Excel coming up. Can you use it as a background? Okay. Okay. So this was my model. One was going up, one was going straight, and one was going down. So what's the first thing we need to do? Is we need to get data, right? So how do we get data?
Look it up,
Where? Well,
Google.
but where did we get this data from? Yahoo Finance. So what we have to do is we have to go to Yahoo Finance, right? And when we go to Yahoo Finance, you can go to Yahoo Finance. Is you need to download the data up till when? So go to Yahoo Finance now. Might as well finish up our assignment now, right, Chris? Did you go to Yahoo Finance? Go to Yahoo Finance, and what do you want to do? You want to download the data till we get what? Till we see, when was our last class? Wednesday, right? Was our last class 224? Then what did it do? It went to 223 on open, it went to 225, and then it opened on 222. What did it close, by the way, today?
217.88.
217. So it seemed like it went what? So it went what?
Down.
Down. So in this case, the apple went down. So now there's the issue to see, once I have my data, you see this? I have my data, right? I have this data. Also on your site, go ahead and also put the URL up on the first line so you always can go and find your data. So you can see here, take your data, and you can do it as a take data as your data tag, as your data tab here. You can relabel it, the symbol, the day, the time, so we know, so it went to 225. So now what does this tell me? I have the data, Claudine, right? So now, let me go back to my first sheet. I have my data, and now what I want to be able to do, I know, for instance, my data and I can then compare my actual to the forecast. Everybody see what I'm talking about? I can compare my actual to the forecast. And then I can compute, what does this $7.09 mean? Eden, what does that mean? Okay, so did I underestimate or overestimate? Over. So in this case, my actual was 222. My forecast turned out to be a 229. Now the question is, how did I get this 22924 for my forecast? And this is the key here. I'm giving you a hint for the homework. Go to the cell right above it. You see the cell right above it? What is that cell? What does that say there? Dan, you see? Go to cell B28.
Forecast linear A29 B3 through B24.
Right. Basically, when I want to do a forecast, and if I go to my cell right here, right, is basically I can get, remember functions? Built-in functions in Excel. A built-in function, one built-in function in this Excel is forecast. So you can find a forecast built-in function, Dan, that will tell me what the forecast is. That's this side. And what does this mean here? That I basically have, if I went ahead and had the computer do this, would I be making money, Dan, or losing money? What's my
Losing money?
question?
Losing money?
Losing money. And if this was $2, right, I'd be losing for every share $2. And if I bought 100 shares or 1,000 shares, I can move the decimal place. Now, this is my forecast too. The other side of my forecast is right here. What does this represent? Did you get the spreadsheet? Evan, are you in the spreadsheet that I'm talking about?
I'm trying to do the equal forecast.
Right. So on my spreadsheet, what is this? Y is equal to 0.5149x minus
That's
22.
your linear trend line.
That's my linear trend line. So instead of doing the built-in function, I could take, remember you all got function, you all got a formula for your R squared? You can then just fill it in, right? Basically the x, right, I could just then fill it in by the x, and what is my x then in this case? I have my y's and my x's. So y is equal to what? What does x represent? Evan, you're on a roll. What does x represent?
Independent variable.
Right, my independent variable. And what's my x here? Remember I took these two columns? So what does x represent?
The open price.
Right, well, no, I'm forecasting what? I want to forecast my open price.
For future price. No.
I have two columns, A and B. Stay with me, okay? I have two columns, A and B. B is what? My open price. What's A? What's column A represent?
The date.
Date. So basically, how do I multiply by date? How does a computer multiply by date? Raise your hand. Everybody understand the question? What's the question? Alec, what's the question?
How do you compute or multiply by date?
Yeah, because it says X. Remember my formula? My formula is right here. So my idea here is with my formula, how do I then interpret then my X? I know my intercept, right, of that 20. How do I then, what is my X? What is my X coefficient? Here's my coefficient. What is this? it's gonna be 4,300. If I go and I do this, and let's just make a copy of this. Copy, and let's make here, and let's copy it. I copy this. I have my date, and I'm gonna paste it right here. If I put a date in here, let's say 9, what's today's date?
17.
So let me enable, edit. Okay, so 9-17-2018. Can I multiply this date? And I basically, you remember when I said I can right click, I can format my cells? Or I can format a number. How can I then convert this date to a number? Will, how can I convert this date to a number?
Just do the date and number,
What?
like,
I'm on date now. How can I convert this to a number?
I don't know.
How can I convert
Number,
it?
there you go.
We don't want to first say, I don't know, right? We want to first think, number, right? And I can do number and I can just say, then okay. So what number do I got? What number do I have? 4,360. What number is this?
4360.
Okay, what does that represent? This is the question for tonight. Keys to the Mercedes are outside in the Mercedes in the parking lot. What is this? How is that a number? What does that number represent? What's the question? Michael, what's the question? What's the question? Who can raise their hand and even say what the question is? Yes. Question.
The date you typed in, how is that displayed as a number? when you
Exactly.
type it?
Excellent. Now, Jamie, did you understand the question? What?
Numbers represent.
Yeah, what does the number represent? And what would I probably tell you to do?
Google it.
So Andres, don't look at me so much. A number of days from a certain point in time. Which point in time? Anybody ever hear of a Julian date?
Is it the date when the price was 0?
No.
The date when Excel was created?
No. Let's look it up. Is that what it says in there?
January 6th, 1991.
Look it up. Yes.
It's like how many days have gone by since, like you said, January 1st, like, you know,
Good.
I get the Mercedes.
I don't know, we're gonna get, I'll give you a key, you'll find out, right? Okay, so, basically, this is a way in which the computer then has a date, because when you sort something as dates, how does the computer do it? Basically, it converts it to a number, and then it goes like ascending order and descending order. So what I need to do then is, if I can take then, what I want you to be able to do is for homework to find out how well your forecast is working. So I want 2 times. We don't have class on Wednesday, so we'll have class on Monday. So I want you, number 1, put this in your notes. Number 1 is make a tab, a new tab. Download new data. And then accuracy of model? Did you under or overestimate? And a good way to do it is just using the forecast function. So if you do equals forecast, if you do the function and look for forecast linear, you can do the same thing by using the function forecast linear. And then for next Monday, do another week's forecast on the same company. And each tab will have the date when you get the data. And then once we try to find out how to do it manually, what's our goal? Is to have the program the computer that it will trade for us. And every morning you don't have to bother downloading the data, because what does it do? It knows today's date, it knows how to download, right? You know the steps to download. We just automated it and get the computer to download our data, do the regressions in different formats, find out then if it's accurate or not, and then the most accurate, we'll be able to use the models. And you remember how we did before when we looked at that automated trading system where we wrote the rules? If something happens, then we're going to go long, or if it goes below, we'll go short. Then basically the rules just start changing. And we add different areas, different functions, different indicators to the rules. But before we can automate it, we need to know the computer in the beginning is stupid. It goes very fast. We're not stupid. Right? We're smart, but the idea is, what can the computer do? The computer can do those techniques really fast, and it can then scan maybe 1,000 stocks at a time, or 1,000 different equities or something like that, and it can find what are the best stocks to use that model with. And it can do it in seconds, where for us it would be years. And then what you would want to do with humans, what they call artificial intelligence and deep learning, what we want to do then is take that artificial intelligence and deep learning and have the computer start correcting its errors. And we start doing it, how funny? By giving it data. We're basically training the system, giving it data that we know, we can tell whether it's accurate or not. And then later on, what we want to do is actually forecast when we don't know the answers, and see how accurate it is. And right now, since we're doing it so rudimentary, guess what? We're losing. But maybe if we can get some models and we can start improving, and we just don't do it in isolation, we'll have finance people, we'll have marketing people, we'll have physics people, we'll have mathematicians all working together, and some people that know the market, like if we're going to do healthcare, they know exactly the market in healthcare. They may know about certain companies, or they have a field for, I'm just going to specialize in FANG, right? What's FANG? Anybody know? Facebook, Apple, right, Netflix, Google, they're only focusing on that. And then there may be what we call a contagion effect. What's a contagion effect? It's almost like some of you were telling me you were in the health center. You can't come to class because you're contagion. What's a contagion effect, do you think? AJ, what do you think a contagion effect is? Right. So basically, for instance, if something happens to Apple, right, who else is probably maybe going to affect is maybe the other three in the FANG, or maybe in the tech companies. You know, the leaders may affect the other ones. It's just like when we're talking about the emerging market now, with Turkey, with now Argentina. People are saying when one of the emerging countries, they have problems, then it may be a contagion effect, and maybe other countries will have problems. So it's the same idea. So I was just playing around with it, but basically what you want to do is be able to take your actual, which you have the data for, and to see what was the forecast. And how do you do it? You can just formulate it with the forecast function. Questions? When is this due? Monday. And this way, you have enough time that you can do a couple of forecasts and see how it will do. Start with today's, and then in a couple of days from the further, even on Wednesday or Thursday, on Thursday you can do another forecast and forecast to see, and then you can see, and you say, and then later on you say, you know, this linear model just isn't doing a good job in forecasting. We'll try other models, or we'll try other stuff. Everybody with me? Okay? Where's the roll? It got lost?
We haven't gotten it.
You haven't gotten it, so who's sitting on the roll? It got lost all that way. Oh, see? Good. Thank you, Vanessa. So we got this. Do you have an idea? It's very good. Okay. So you can see here, and what would be nice then, you can see here how I have this enabled editing, right? That you have it. Look at this model. This model was telling you it's going up. This model is in red. This model is in green. So change these, that it will change for both of these. This one will be very sophisticated. If you want, you can put it in as well. But the forecast function is the easiest. Questions? So let me close this. And I'll close this. Don't save. Okay. And now I'm going to close this. Some of you, after class, since we don't have class on Wednesday, I'm going to be here going over this again. So those people that are confused or want extra help, I'll be here after class and I'll give like a session for those that want or have issues. Since we're not going to meet on Wednesday, there'll be a whole week. I'll answer any of your questions. Okay, and I'll spend some time almost like a lab time. So those of you that don't have class can stay with me. Okay, so this was the course documents. Let me just do some other housekeeping. Let's go to assignments. We have chapter 5 as well, right? Is 5 available to you?
Yes.
Yes. So you should be, for next week, you should have done the security chapter as well as chapter 5. And next week we'll go over more of the data. And then we'll also get into blockchain as well as another part of data that we'll be doing. Questions? Okay, so what do we need to do now? I'm going to go back to our assignments. I'm going to go to course documents. I'm going to my course documents here, my PowerPoints, and help your neighbors. Some of you in groups, one person turned it in and the others didn't turn it in. So I request those that did it, help your neighbors and let them understand what they need to do. Because even though these are group projects, individually you need to know what's happening. So I'm going to do chapter 4. I'm going to show in the folder, and then I'm going to open up. Okay, this is on information security. Any questions? Okay. Security, let's think about forecasting. Are we ever going to be 100% secure? What do you think? Shannon, what do you think? No, we're not gonna be 100%, but what is it gonna be? It's going to be based on what? How much security do I need? It's a lot of times a cost-benefit analysis. Think about your house, right? If I have a $10 million house or a $100,000 house, I may put a lot more security features on my $10 million house than I do on my 100,000 condo. Right? Makes sense that it's gonna be. So one of the things that we talk about security is any kind of danger that we have, right? What we're gonna be doing is the damage and the loss. What we wanna do is we wanna secure it, and information security is designed then from unauthorized users, from disclosures, from destruction, and this you should put in your notes. You'll be able to need to know for the test the difference between a threat, an exposure, and a vulnerability. Everybody hear what I said? You need to know the difference between a threat, exposure, and vulnerability. What is it and what's the difference between them? So who can tell me? Caleb, what's a threat then?
Something that could cause damage or danger to someone.
Right, anything that's gonna be in danger, system may be exposed, a threat. So what kind of threat do we have in our information system? Here at the university, what kind of threats do they have? What? So someone from the outside, I just got something from our information officer. Did you get it? I got one where they were doing, somebody was pretending to ask me about my employees. They wanted me to take in a survey for employees, and they said, click on here. And the information officer at the School of Business just sent me an email saying, don't click on it. Why? Because basically they're trying to get my information, they're trying to get my username, my password.
Did you click on it?
No, I didn't. I never got the email either. They probably know not to bother with me. I never get it. But I read your emails. I do. I try. Anyways, I try to respond. Anybody, right? I try. So that's a threat. What's exposure then is the harm, loss, or damage that can result if a threat gets compromising our information. So did I tell you, we used to have a security officer who's no longer here because he allowed some threats to come into the university. Anybody work for the university, right? And what do you use for the university in order to log your hours? Who works for the university? Wellness Center. AJ, what do you log into? Workday. So Workday, you remember we talked about Workday before? It basically hands in. So basically someone went into Workday, AJ, and what they ended up doing is from Workday, they basically were able to go into a number of employee, how do you get paid, by the way? Where's your money go? To the bank. And how do they know where to put the money? Right, so they have an account. So what they did with their account is they basically took it. They got a hold of a number of faculty and employee usernames and emails and changed the bank account. So instead of to my bank account, it went to somebody else's bank account. And how Workday was set up, it never asked those employees, somebody changed your how often do you change your bank account since you've been here? Hardly ever, right? So there should have been something, what should have been the control? The control should have been, ask AJ, did you make this request to change your bank account? And you would have said immediately what? No. But it wasn't set that way. They forgot to change your defaults in, Workday. Pretty recently. Amazing. And all they needed to do was send a link, basically when they set up Workday, instead of making it as a default item to inform employees, they didn't check that off. That security officer is no longer here, okay? But it should have been. And you say, wow, you know, so you say, what is the threat, right? What is the exposure? And what's the vulnerability is the possibility that the system will be harmed by a threat. So what people are going to do is, what's the probability, just like we did with forecasting, what's the probability that our email's going to be hacked for our students? What's the probability that if I get AJ, all my employees, that how they get their bank accounts, that is an exposure? So what do I have to do? I have to basically put up controls that will help us. Okay? So that's an important one. You know, you have so many things here, and they talk about what are the 5 factors to contributing vulnerability. But basically, if we're in a wireless environment, basically, it doesn't take much to be a computer hacker. Why don't you need skills? Basically, there's sites there that you can find the code to hack into places. There's now even international crime, right? So there's a number of different ways. And they're talking about this idea of what you need to know is human errors and social engineering. What's social engineering? Kelsey, what's social engineering? What's the question?
What's social engineering?
Good. So who can help her? What's social engineering?
The use of deception to manipulate individuals into receiving confidential or personal information that may be used for fraudulent purposes.
Okay, so what does that mean in your own words, you think? What's an example of it? How could somebody use social engineering?
Tricking people into giving away information.
And how could you trick people to give away information?
Pretend to be their friend and like.
Or pretend to be their friend, or call up, right? And I called up to Kelsey and I said, you know, this is the help desk. She's working at the university, and I say to Kelsey, you know, this is the help desk, and we need now, we're going to do an upgrade to your machine, and I get some information about Kelsey. And I said, Kelsey, what major are you?
Marketing.
Marketing, and I know this is in marketing, and I schmooze her a little bit. Everybody knows the word schmooze, right? So I schmooze her quite a bit, and now what do we get is that she gives us her username or her password, I'm going to send you a link, right? Social engineering, maybe, that Kelsey, you know, Dan, have you met Dan? Dan, meet Kelsey, right? Dan, let's go out, and Dan's part of this, and Dan, why don't you invite her out for a cup of coffee, and while she's out there, I have Jamie next to her, and Jamie basically, you know what, Jamie, and then I come in, and I say, you know, I have to use Kelsey's computer. Kelsey leaves it on, and then I can just put a virus physically, but easier, I can do it just virtually. Or it can be in social engineering, any type of way in which people are doing. So that's the idea of social engineering, the idea that you have a lot of security threats. I'm not going to bother with this, but human errors, there's a lot of ways that we can access the privileges of my human errors. These are some deliberate threats, espionage, right? We heard about the Russians coming. We have all these Chinese hacking into Sony, identity theft, a number of Equifax. Anybody hear about Equifax? What have we heard about Equifax? Type in Equifax hack. Equifax. And what is Equifax? Pardon? Equifax. What do we got? Equifax hack. What do we find? Matt, what did you find?
I found
I found So what do we find about Equifax hack? Who found it? Chris, what did we find? Nothing yet.
Affected 145 million.
How many? 145 million
And a half
and a half
customers.
customers. Can you imagine? This was a publicly traded company. How many people are my finance people? Look, insider trading. Have we ever heard about insider trading? What's insider trading? Alex?
Basically like when someone uses like information that they shouldn't have rights to
Well, it's not they shouldn't have rights to, but they what? They trade on,
access to non-public information.
they have access to non-public information that they're gonna trade upon. These folks, in January of a year, thought they had a problem with their computer systems. They didn't do the proper updates to the OS. What's an OS? Operating system. They had a Windows operating system and they didn't do the proper updates. They brought in a consulting firm and they said, you know what, we need to do the proper update, but they forgot to update it. And then they reported to the C-suite. And what's the C-suite? Like the chief CEO, the chief marketing officer. And this was in June. They reported the fraud. They reported it to shareholders in November. In June and July, they found out, guess what? I'm giving you a hint. What do you think, Alex?
I don't know.
They found out about it in June, and they reported to the public shareholders in November. So what happened between June and November?
Insider trading.
And how was the insider trading done? They basically, they buy their stock or sell their stock?
Sell it.
They sold their stock, and guess what? And basically they said, and then these guys are no longer there in Equifax. I don't know if they went to jail or not, probably not, but I don't know. So in this case, and they're saying, hey, insider information, 145 million records stolen. What are they going to do with those records? Basically, you have all your information, credit card information, all your credit accounts. Open up your credit card. So that's the idea when they talk about deliberate threats to the system. And then we talk about different software attacks. A DOS means denial of service. What does that mean? Denial of service. What does it mean? And basically, I get other computers to what they call ping a website and do it millions and millions of times or billions of times at one time. And basically, there's so much traffic at a website, it brings it down. So that's denial of service. There's different ones. You should know what the different ones of Trojan horse, backdoor, logic bombs, key loggers. Basically, they don't use it as much, but key loggers is basically an idea that I can see exactly what you type in. So when you type in your password, and anybody ever see that where I get like asterisks or something, I don't see it? A key logger can see it because it's what? It's just like a little mask that they can see behind it. Okay, this is what we need to spend some time on. Physical controls, access controls, communication controls, business continuity, and information systems auditing. What's a physical control? Basically, this is the key, folks. I have security. Can I be 100% secure? No. But what do I need to do? I need to put controls based on how much that information is worth to me and what is the probability that I will be compromised. And then I'm going to put some controls in. What are examples in this room? What are examples of physical controls? What do I have? I have here, they can get into the computer. I have computers here. I don't have much. I have this overhead. So what is a physical control? Conchetta, what's a physical control?
Through the door.
A door, and what? What am I gonna do with the door? He said, I can open it, so what is the physical control then?
You can lock it
I can lock it. How are these doors locked?
with a key.
And what else? Anybody else know? They're by a timer. Basically, somebody programs that what, between 8 and 10, Monday through Friday, these doors should be locked. What's the problem with that? I stay sometimes later with students, and the cleaners come and clean, and they have special card keys. But what they do is it's a pain in the butt to get those keys up. So this is what they do. They take a trash can and they do this for the whole night. What's the problem with that? I can get around those physical controls. In a security audit in a naval base, and they did the background checks, and they did for me, security, that I had high, clearance. And so then basically, in order to get there, they don't have just a key, they have retina, they have a number of different biomarkers that they can do. So I said, let's just go from the back way. So as we're going from the back way, this high security facility, they did the exact same thing that they did here. Nobody wanted to use all their keys and all their contacts, so they put a brick in the back of the wall. So you're doing all these sophisticated ones and you don't even realize. Access controls restrict or authorize individuals from using information resources and involve then authentication, authorization. Remember, AJ, I said that chief security officer is no longer there? So what did they end up doing? One of the things they ended up doing was that on your phone, in order to get your password, what do you have to do? In order to get into courses or anything else, what do you have to do? You have to do what? Authentication, right? Dual identification. They brought that up, necessary after the hacking. And then there's communication controls, and what's business continuity planning? Who can tell me what business continuity planning is? It sounds like what? Continuing the business and continuing it after what? Some event occurs. Hurricanes. Anybody hear about hurricanes, right? We didn't get one this year yet, right? But the whole idea is, if this campus is down for a while, what should they do? Business continuity plan. What could be a business continuity plan? Is to do what? If we had a Cat 5 hurricane here, AJ, what would our plan be? What do we do in this? How does the university make revenue? What is the business of this university? Tuition, and what else? And in lieu of tuition, what do I get? You just give tuition, you just give money, and that's it? What do you expect in return? What? What do you expect in, you give tuition?
Education.
Huh?
Education.
An education, right? So if these buildings got destroyed, how could you get an education? So they should be having some continuity, right? That part of it, just like we were doing before, collaboration. At least if I were, had to move from Florida and you had to go to New Jersey, right? Then I could basically do maybe part online, right? So that's a business continuity. And the other one is information systems auditing. And I have any accounting majors here? Okay. One of the things, this is really big, is basically the idea of doing auditing of a computer systems and basically helping an organization to follow proper controls. So just like you have an audit and you have controls, you have information controls. So this is an area in which you need to know. So you'll see here, they talk about the physical, they talk about authentication, right? Something the user has, basic password guidelines, right? Communication controls. So this is, for instance, having a virtual private network. Now they're not going through the traditional hypertext protocol network, but going through a virtual private network. So you have more what they call a secure socket layer. Remember when you see HTTPS, the S in the end, it says a secure socket link. Okay? So this is, let me see what else. These are our guards, right? Authentication, passwords. This is how digital certificates work, how encryption works, how a virtual private network basically end to end. You're not going through the public internet. They call it a hot site or a cold site for business continuity planning maybe. The university will have another site that'll store their computers, stored in the cloud. And that's it. Okay? So, we have, for next week, we're going to do databases. I'm going to go through the forecasting. Make sure that you upload then part A and part B. Stay with me if you have additional questions, and I'll do a practice session right after this if you need help. Everybody sign up? Thank you. Dan, thanks. So put us just a note on the board.
Oh, yeah.
No class.
Just so we stay on top of that content. Oh, good one.
What?
You get that done.
So my forecast is going to.
Oh, another.
I'm gonna forecast. What it'll do the number. No, just do the day. Show that, you know what I mean, go to the day, 8/29. Right. And then I have B3.
What does your B3 represent then?
My B3 is just where I started.
You start with open?
Right.
Okay.
Start with the open day. So I'm gonna go from B3 through B24. Right? All that's highlighted in yellow. So I'm gonna take this, right? I'm gonna go all the way through. This is my B24, right?
Why is it the 24 not all the way? up?
Okay, because I didn't know those dates, right?
Right.
Because this was the dates that I'm gonna forecast, right? So I'm gonna do my forecast of B24, and then I'm gonna now do my dates of A3 through
So do I do
A24.
a comment?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, comma, A3 through.
A what?
I don't know if yours is the same as your date, yeah, A3, colon, through A24.
You use scatter plot or?
What?
You use scatter plot, right?
For what, for this?
Yeah, for that graph.
I use the line markers, right,
Okay.
line marker, right. Okay?
That's, well, I already know the 7, so like I just did it for here.
Okay, well,
This
you
one
wanna,
I already knew.
okay, so you wanna
Yeah.
do it for, so you wanna just change it, then you do
So
it
should I
for.
do like,
What do you mean, you know?
so should I enter in like this is like,
Well, this will tell you what your forecast was, cause the
Yeah.
first time you did it, go back to the first time you did it.
this is the forecast.
Okay, so you know, that's why you wanna know, it, because what is it, what did it forecast to? 2017, and,
Yes.
and it really was, what did we forecast, Friday, which one did you forecast?
See, this, I think I forecasted it for,
Yeah, Monday, so this is
but I
good.
already know Monday.
You know it, that's why we're testing the model.
Okay, oh, so we're
So,
testing.
See, what, think about it, we did it last week,
Right,
did you know Monday's date?
no,
So now it told us in Monday, right? It told us Monday should have been, what was the number it gave us? Go back. It told us it's gonna go up to 2017, right? But it didn't. It went down. It really was
Okay,
a
so
lot.
we're forecasting it before we know it, and then once we know, I got you, right?
You're adding that error in.
Yeah, I got you.
Later on I'll
Right.
add it in, but right now I'm trying to see, last week, do we know what Monday was? But we were forecasting, right? It said it was supposed to go up or it's supposed
Right.
to go down, right? Now we're on Monday, do we know what Monday's open was?
Now we do,
Now we do,
Yeah.
so we're gonna go back to last week's forecast,
gotcha.
So eventually we're gonna put that margin of error inside our.
or we'll change it, or what we'll do is either we'll put the margin of error inside, right? That maybe what we'll do is say, hey, it overestimates or it underestimates, or later on we'll try to find a better, model, or we'll refine our model. But first, once we do this, everybody says, oh, I did it, but now what am I gonna do? Now let me see how accurate the model
Right.
was. Just like I'm gonna anticipate with you, right? I'll anticipate, you're gonna take a test, right? And then you say, I think I got a 90 on the last test, so I'll probably get a 90 on this test, right? This is what you're doing, so you say, I know exactly how I need to study because I got a 90 on the first. But in the second test, right, how do we know how accurate you were, right? After you take the test, now I know that you got an 85. Well, why did you get an 85? Well, maybe it was for some, I had a 5 off on my error. So it's the same thing here in the stock market, but we're gonna be able to then forecast and then either build in the errors to it, change the model, or change the stocks and say, with this, what stock was that? 'Cause
That was Amazon.
So that was Amazon, 2000, right?
Yeah.
So so you can see here, and now go ahead and add to it the percentage. How much were you
Off by?
off by, right? Just like how I did it
Yeah,
here,
the
right?
Forecast versus what it
Actually
Yeah.
is. So Amazon went down, right?
Right.
Amazon went down more, and there could have been other reasons, and it'll be interesting, once you do that, see how then, and then what they're gonna be able to do is then they'll be able to see, remember we talked about FANG, for instance? It may be that one's a predictor of the other.
Uh-huh.
So once maybe you see that Amazon goes down, then it may be highly correlated, let's say with Facebook.
I got it.
So right after that, you may then want to take that same model and say, after I do this, it's highly correlated. Then when Amazon does a certain pattern, I bet you maybe it's a higher percentage that all the other ones will go. That's kind of like the contagion effect.
Yep.
So each one, I'm just showing you how it becomes, I'm trying to show you first of all in Excel. Remember I showed you the platform of NinjaTrader, but I wanted everybody knows Excel, right? And everybody can gain access to it, and it has some built-in functions already, how you can do it. And this is gonna be off some, right? Because they don't behave, and then there's the news, right? It doesn't, if it were so simple, right,
Yeah.
then they wouldn't be doing this, but if I can start cutting those costs, and then it depends on whether we're doing the end of day, right? And those, what they call HFT, you know what that is, high frequency traders, they're coming in and out real quickly. So maybe you don't have a chance to compete with those guys, on Wall Street on frequency, but maybe I can be on the backs of them, almost the thing. Or maybe I can do like swing trading or something. Or they can do the others, but I just wanted to show you that how these systems actually start running each time. And then, now that you do it, who's in your group?
Cody and Ben.
Okay, so go to Cody and Ben, and you can even do it online with them, or tell them, and show them what you've done and let them do the same thing.
Yep.
Because you're kind of like the leader of your group, seriously, you're interested in it, so you come after class and you're asking, now how do I do it? Now that you do it, and you'll understand it better when you explain it to them.
Yep.
And then as a group, right, this is all usually working in groups, they don't do it as, by themselves, and then you can do it virtually. I can find the smartest people in the world, to come into my collaborative sessions. You can show them what you're doing, and if you're really good, you even get a crowd following you, right?
Right.
You can broadcast, what?
You put on YouTube.
Yeah, you can broadcast your ways, and then you can then even, and if you're really big, right, you have a personality, right, you can even move something, you know what I mean? You know, people are searching for that. So it's really nice, then you can even do little tutorials on your screen on how to do, you can do a screencast on how you do the forecast. You know, it'd be nice to do, put on your website, extra credit, put on how you did the forecast,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
How to do a little one, you know, even a minute, right? This is for the class, and you can even send an email to everybody, guess what, class? If people were confused, how do I do a forecast?
Right.
And basically what we're forecasting is the day, but how do I know if well, that's how we're doing it, because the beauty here is we're not just meeting one day, we meet every week, so we can see what last week's forecast was, because we already know this week, we already know what actually happened. So this is kind of like the steps, remember I talked about agile programming, this is the steps that they go each time, it's kind of tedious, but once we get basically the ways in which to do it, once we get the algorithms down, then we can get the computer to, we have the computer to reach there. We don't have to go to that sense, they know how to go to Yahoo, right? If I have the URL for Amazon, right?
Yeah.
And not even that, it can go through thousands of symbols and find me the best symbol, find me the best symbols that follow that model best. And I rank order it
Yeah.
for me.
Right.
I'll show you that next week, on
Okay.
how it's ranked order, so you can rank order. And then you can go out, and that's the whole thing, it's all automated. The URL isn't gonna change for,
Right.
to get the Amazon data, right? It's finance,
Yeah.
whatever it is. That's why I told you put the link over there. Just click on the link and you'll go, and it updates. Yeah.
All right, thank you, I'll see you next week.
Okay. Okay, good, yeah, I'll give it to you. So, do you have a question?
Well,
Hey,
I just wanna know, if it was, cause I put it as a scatter plot, and then put a trend line.
okay, see, whatever worked out.
I just, it
Yeah,
looks
see,
like.
bargain, okay?
Thank you.
Right. Claudine, do you have a US number? Hello? Hello? Yeah, Claudine, do you have your phone?
Yeah.
You have a US number?
Yeah.
Okay. Just give him, I'll help you in a second. Just give him here. He's gonna send you a text. Okay, Claudine, what's your phone number?
It's 305.
305. Give it,
All right,
let me-
619. Hi. Did you get the number? Yeah, it's 305 619
let me ask him and help him.
0509
Just, let me just ask.
09.
I'll just get John.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
See the confirmation code.
Confirmation.
Okay.
You could just even stay
Okay,
there. and
no
I'll just say
problem.
it's just-
You want me-
Yeah, just sit
Yeah,
down.
really just got a message like, it's
Okay.
a 6-digit, like.
Okay.
So I, the other lady, she's an ID for, 450.
No, it was
She can't come to this session, but
305
at 6:30.
619
But I've done it, so I'll-
0509.
So I can make it.
Fine,
So,
fine.
that's fine, like, I'm good to go.
And do you know how to do the forecast?
Yeah, I have it, yeah. I
Okay.
have it.
619
I'll show her, cause she was, I mean, she had some questions, but.
0509.
That's fine.
Okay, but John.
Yeah, did you get it now?
What?
Right, but that, I mean, she should get a message.
Yeah, ask her if she, see.
305 619 0509. No, it's 619. There is a 6 before the 19. No. 305 619 0509. Yes. Yes. No, it's 6, then 1.
correct. Then it's 6. 6. Yes, then 1, 9. Yes, then 0, 5, 0, 9. 0, 9. Yes, perfect.
Did it not work for you?
I'm still waiting for it. He wasn't getting it.
You know, I did it last time. It worked. Ask him if he wants to try another number.
Do you want to try another number?
Yeah, no, I have a thought.
Yeah, someone's with me who has a different phone number.
Yeah, but did you use it, did you give him already numbers?
I gave it to him
How
before.
many, did you give him twice?
No, just once, that one
Okay,
time,
okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, can you hear me?
This, I already downloaded the new date for today,
right,
and
I know, yeah, but her phone cannot, it doesn't work. Can you hear me now?
Stuff that you did, I don't understand it with the
Really?
errors.
okay.
Yeah, 3, 0, 5. 6, 0, 7.
You can download the spreadsheet too, you know what I mean? The manual machine.
7, 8, 1, 1.
So basically you wanna do, okay, so what do you have?
Well, here I took the Y equation of the linear
Right,
function,
okay.
and I know that's the dates, but
Okay.
I don't know like really what the other numbers are.
Oh, okay, well, you don't have to worry about that, but let's just do let's do the forecast function. Do you know how to get the forecast
No,
function?
I don't
Okay,
know.
okay, so go to a separate. Okay, so you wanna go to the function, right, and then you wanna look for, in this case, you want, yes, what? Okay, so basically, let's look for the forecast when, okay.
And you want me to insert?
Okay, now within that, we need to know our x's and our x number and our y's and our array. So this is gonna be one number we're gonna look for,
Okay,
and then these are gonna be my arrays. So in my case, for instance, what I did was I looked at A29, right, which is going to be my date. What
So you
date?
took today?
Yeah, I took today's date.
Okay, so technically that would be my first one, because this is brand new.
Okay.
So I take the open value?
Right, the open value of that first one, and then I'm gonna take then, what I'm gonna be able to do then, I wanna take then my, dates that I already have. So we're gonna take my, all the way from the top of A29 to, so basically, you did that, now I'm gonna take my D, right?
Do I need to, because that's on a separate tab.
No, which
I
one?
mean, like the days before
Yeah,
today.
right.
So am I able, oh, it looks like it's carrying on.
It carries on.
So you say I need to take from,
Well, you'll be able to take from your beginning open, right,
to
to
the
the,
17.
right. Well, it's gonna be to the part that you're not forecasting,
Okay.
right? Because I went to, where did I go? I went to last Wednesday. Because what I'm doing is, I knew last Wednesday. I give it the data which you knew from last time. So
Right.
that's up to last Wednesday.
So that was,
See, that's why I like to format it with days, go format it with days of the week.
Oh, because I'm still on the phone with it.
Okay,
Uh,
okay, all right.
I
But
need
let's
to
just do
clear
this.
Because it also it's counting everything. So from here, I just need to say from last Wednesday, which was, is that the
That was September 12th.
September?
I went from September
Oh.
12th all the way to August 13th.
Okay, you know what, I need to, my data is not gonna work, because I have from here, I mean to the 13th, and then I have from today, I have from the 17th, so I'm missing a big chunk of data.
Okay, but it doesn't matter, but the idea, I want you to understand, the main thing is you understand the color.
Yeah.
Here, the first argument I'm gonna use is what date do I wanna forecast, right? Which is Monday's date, I know what Monday is, because we'll do it today. Right. I know I wanna
Have you sent
forecast
it?
Monday's date. Then I wanna go, my B3, was basically the beginning of my data, right? I wanna go from the beginning of my data in column B, right? To all the way that, the part that I knew, that I used last week, okay? The second argument, when I look at my arguments, the second part of my arguments then is gonna be, then just that same, it's gonna follow that same array, the only difference from A3, for instance, all the way down.
So
From last
everything
week.
after, or,
Basically, this is my array, you know what an array is, basically, I wanna use this part,
yes.
and then I need the other part will be this part that's
Or
equivalent.
just the dates, like,
Yeah,
oh,
right.
okay. So I only have two at this point, but I'm just doing it, and then that's all you
Right,
do for the formula.
right. Well,
Something came up there.
right. It's better to keep them all in one sheet.
Yeah, and I'll get the days
Yeah,
before,
yeah,
so
right,
this and
right,
that.
right. And did you see I uploaded this spreadsheet?
Yeah, it's on
It's
Blackboard.
Blackboard, so you can just look at this, look at the formula. Right
Okay,
there in the formula, just throw it in there and you can match the formula.
okay, I'll do that, so I'll just get the missing data and then match those.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, I understand
I
it
got
better
it.
now.
Right,
Okay,
I got it.
Right.
thank you, Professor.
And I'm gonna be,
Here it is, 8,
yeah, and then we'll
3,
look at it on Monday.
6,
Okay, perfect.
Right, and then, and you know what'd be nice,
1,
is just on how you
9,
put it in,
5.
when you upload it as an item this time, put in the front, how much area you got, and whether you got
Right.
over, underestimate, or under or over.
Okay,
It's perfect,
so, thank you.
perfect, perfect, perfect. And how can I?
So I know you said you don't have class on the 19th. Can I come by during the class time for office hours?
I'm not gonna be here on the 19th, it's Yom Kippur,
John.
so I'm not gonna be here on the 19th.
Yeah, I celebrate.
Right, so I'm
JOHN.
not gonna be here for the.
Okay, so
Do you have questions now?
I have class, but I uploaded my thing, so I think I'm fine, but I was just, so I didn't have all 4 lines, I only had 2 of them.
Which ones do you have?
I had-
You have class right now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But,
I was gonna say, like, what did you not have?
I had the straight line and then I had the upward curve.
Well, that should be good enough. They just did a poly, no, you
Oh.
don't, they did, this should be, I just did it in a number. You should have this one, right, and 1, 2, thank you. It's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay? Okay. You got it?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I gave him the number.
Perfect, perfect.
So,
Can I do the where?
I guess,
Okay.
like 1 minute late.
Yeah, right, let's go do,
Rapid.
Yeah, rapid fire. Let's go.
No, we were supposed to get 2 textbooks,
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of all the articles.
Sorry.
Like BT 210, like 5 to 17.
Yeah.
No, this is just,
It's rumor.
I was
Right,
talking
right.
to myself and you overheard me.
Right, no, I didn't know that. Okay, so basically what you did, so you got the is this the data you got?
Yes, I
So
did.
that's good. So this is your poly. It's interesting. This one, I would say, so.
Yeah,
completely
so
wrong.
my range ended at September 3rd.
Okay, So do the same thing that I showed you before.
Okay, because I downloaded the data up to today.
So this is, but you did Amazon here?
No, I did, Apple.
So why is Amazon here? This is not yours.
What do you mean?
This tag here, this is Amazon.
I mean,
Is
that's,
that somebody
that's
else?
not mine.
Oh, this is not yours. Okay. This way, I get so, okay, is this yours? Yeah. Okay, all right, I won't let you, be like.
Hey.
Yes. Okay, what do you want? Oh, okay, I don't see him, so, what? Okay, I'll give you some. How are you guys? Do you need help?
Yeah.
You have questions? Okay. Let me just do me a favor here. Do you have your phone?
Yeah.
Okay. I have somebody else here with the phone, okay? Here, talk to them. They're gonna send you a code, okay?
Okay, hi.
All right.
I'm good.
I was the last couple classes and there were homeless.
Yes, 314. 314.
Do you have?
1.
Yeah.
And then 338.
You each did 5?
Okay, so basically, have you done the?
1955.
No, I was not like 5 separate.
I didn't see it list.
Yes.
Okay.
I was like,
Oh, we did. You want to do that?
Because I had strep.
Okay, so I can.
Yeah. Oh, do you feel better?
yeah, I mean, I still have like 5 days to antibiotics, but I'm not like,
You can see the recording.
It was
Bad.
yeah, and all the,
It was like terrible.
Okay, I got it.
So they put me on all these. I was on lots of them.
Yeah, do I need to read the digits to you?
Yeah. So she did 5 and then
Yeah.
like, after
3,
5
9, 3.
she showed me how to do it.
okay,
And then I did another 5 and then.
0, 2, 4.
How
did you-
how did you do it? How did you get, do you have to all in one morning?
Yeah.
Are there like dates for the assignments?
What do you mean, like the 3 different lines?
Yeah, so we have different graphs.
So,
Like,
you know
I
what?
think it would be fine with the
Okay.
graphs, but, like,
I'm gonna see
Is that it?
your classroom.
This is
No, but
easier.
I have like.
And you're doing these equations from the. Okay.
Yeah, so like I literally just copy and paste this over and then I just subtract these two.
So I have to even sit,
Yeah, I really.
see, because you can stay for 20 minutes. So that's. Okay. And then this way you can.
Okay.
Do your homework assignment.
I did it last class, but then, I wasn't able to get the other lines because I didn't have the updated version of
Right.
Excel. So now that I updated it, I wanted to go through the process again, to make sure I did it right.
Okay. Okay. And did you do it?
Yeah.
And did you get it?
Yeah, we just did, so
Okay,
like each of
good.
us did 5.
Okay, so sit with her and
There's
can you
your 5
explain to
on there.
her what we went over?
Yeah.
Yeah, so sit with her and then go through it, 'cause this is important, you know what I mean? Or else it's gonna be like,
Am I just showing her how to do it?
what?
Am I just showing her how to do it?
But tell her what the assignment is, what you're supposed to do.
I think we need to listen to her. So like, you have to
Touch
touch
the
5,
phone.
but you can't have calculated technically.
No, I would have roller. Let's just have roller. Let's wait till roller gets here.
You'd be kind of the 10 things, and I think so. We have like, you just can't have second. But anyway, so you did do that, so you don't like,
I'm gonna sit there.
Okay.
Watch her do it.
So is you're waiting or what?
Waiting.
And then
What is this for?
you type in the things like PDFs.
Didn't I just tell you the code? Oh, a new code?
I was like, so then you want.
Okay, yes.
like,
8,
then you go to
7, 5.
And then she wants it over.
No,
How
8,
can I help
7,
you?
5.
And then you hit
We're gonna do like on the.
and then you
0, 6, 1.
and it would like download this
So did you,
Excel sheet or
think
whatever.
about, my
And so
proposal
you would have
for,
all of
the
this.
school? You said that you're gonna
And so
think
then
about
we
the
just like
same.
insert it about like the date, and then you would copy it and paste.
Alright.
See how we can like, kind of make this one.
Which one are you trying to do?
Yep.
The high school.
From like the date, and
No, I
all
don't
the way down. And then you're like.
EMMA.
Like how.
And so your chart will originally come with.
What?
These like six, these,
So I want to start with that.
No, like E like elephant.
Was like talking about the agendas and all that stuff, so it was kind of
Yes.
in line.
and then you hit like add
Thinking that if
And then M as in Mary.
email,
and then you're gonna put
do I
it
need
forward
to
to
send them
the
with
Yep.
the
And then another M as in
rough
Mary.
draft of the proposal that I'm
your to display.
trying to.
And then A as in Anna.
Have is supported, so I'll send those along.
Okay.
Yes.
So then you're gonna put the forward.
Yes.
You
Like
said
6
like
periods, and then you
me
hit these
sending,
two things.
sending him an email to see him and then explain
So you
to
put
him,
the
like,
forward,
sending an email with the rough draft of the proposal and then
You
with.
just do that. And
Would
then,
you,
but then you're
do you
also
have
gonna
time
do a column
to
Okay,
underline.
thank you.
And so then you would change the order to 6, and then you would also
Bye.
put forward at 6,
Bye. Thank you. Okay, folks.
and then you also just click on those two things, and that's where you get the equations. And then
we
she
could
was going to
do,
do
so I
like
can
a little.
write you a rough draft on how
sort
of
of
that.
thing.
Yeah, let's go.
So like,
Okay,
I mean, it
folks,
like gives it to you.
let
so
me
you just
find
kinda
out where
copy
people
and
are.
paste it.
I'm not.
And then like the game
I
is
just
just
saw something
a
to change
subtraction
on
of the two
What?
are.
Oh, I'm just gonna have her change something on
No,
that.
no.
You need to change
Okay,
something.
that's
something, so,
Okay.
I was in two, so.
Okay, folks, let's go,
Yeah, you do
let's,
5 different, so each person in your group was 5 different ones. Each person.
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were two.
Yeah. So no, so you go, yeah, so you start, you do finance, and then like, so like we did the 10 from our like list,
Yeah, yeah.
and then we did 5 other ones.
This?
And so
Did you
just, like-
upload it?
Six, yeah.
No, not yet, that's what I wanted to know, cause she said she didn't know how to upload it, or any of us didn't know how to upload it, and so you just type
No,
in
this
like,
one, same
whichever
thing.
one
Yeah.
it is,
Oh, wait,
and then
no,
you would
what do
hit
you-
historical
I
data,
don't think you need
and then
to
she
change
wants to
the
do a
specs.
longer range, so
But
like we did
change
3
the-
months or whatever.
Okay.
And then you're gonna hit apply, always hit apply, otherwise it's
Mhm.
and then you wanna download it, and it like comes up with all these
Yeah.
rows, and then you add in a new row above this, and you put the date and then like the URL.
Okay.
And then you're gonna highlight the first 2 rows like all the way down, and then you create the chart, and then you do all the data.
So you're
only doing with the open?
What are we forecasting just the next day?
It's just like, you're just like plotting like the last 3 months, yeah.
Oh, it's just a trend?
It's the trend
Oh.
from the last 3 months.
Okay,
Mhm.
alright. I get that. So each person has to do 5 different companies?
That other one that left, he left me a code, he emailed me a code.
I think you have to combine.
Yeah, but like each person in your group is
Okay,
5
bye.
different
Yeah,
ones.
this is combined.
I know. Okay, folks,
the only other?
so let me, how can I help you, what do we need to do?
How do you want us to upload it?
Okay, so what do you have?
I have 5 Excel sheets, and then each person,
So you have them, did you put them in each one in a separate book?
Yeah, do you want me to put it in one?
And what have you done? Let me see, bring it up to me, let me just see.
Is it okay if I see like anything that's being
We don't have,
Yeah,
class
no,
Wednesday, so upload it for next Wednesday.
Okay, and the business stuff.
Yes.
They each
Thank
did 5.
You each should.
You got the gain and you got the
What?
All right, yeah, and then did you, label, put the date of what it was, right, the date there, put it also there on the bottom. Okay, folks, let me show you what I need to, have you do, and then we can, go on from there. Okay?
No, it's like computer.
The test will be around October.
Let's be
10th.
voting anyway.
Thank you.
Okay,
So
so what do we need to do?
I did 2 separate.
Oh, so you
I
change
just
yours.
changed them to different
Oh,
colors.
you did?
The period.
So like,
6.
is it the one
Six?
line?
Mhm. No, wait. Yeah, and then for this one,
There's every line.
change,
Okay.
change the period to 6 and the order to
The
6.
gain is just the poly R minus our
Order?
For the polynomial?
Yeah.
Okay. I got it, thank you.
I have to look at it.
Of course. So let me go to 450 audit,
No, it's at 7.
and now I'm gonna go to course
There
documents.
we go.
This is the one I wanted to do.
So- You're not interested? Oh, really? I'm sorry. I wanted to go. Seriously? This week, the next week. Apple Calendar.
No, it's Tuesday night. So block it.
And then period 6. And she has 5 companies per person.
What?
Yeah, needs to be 5 companies for each unit.
Okay, we have 1, 2, 3.
Content folder we wanna do.
Wait, did you put them all in one sheet? Like,
I did separate ones,
Like
but
sheet
like,
one,
you
but-
can't.
Yeah, you can, but it'd probably be,
I can put all.
depend. Okay, let me just,
Oh, that's fine.
Like-
And then just be copying and pasting.
wait, can you just like in one thing, but different sheets?
Yeah, you can, okay.
but you wanna label it,
Yeah.
Of course.
did you know what you have?
So let's talk about what companies. And what would come in.
Wait, so we put that.
So what do you think? So what do you want me to go, what is your question?
I didn't have one. She asked me a question.
Okay.
I have it, and,
What?
we do the whole Excel
Wait,
process.
can you just
in the
know
beginning.
what's in here? It's the poly R squared.
Okay,
So
that's
I already have all my data, the 3-month forecast for the stock I'm doing in Google.
Yeah.
I have all the 3-month forecasts, so then, once I have it on the book, how do I proceed from there?
Not really.
You're too nice.
Something like you guys like that. Go ahead.
So you have your data, what do you have?
I have the 3-month,
We need to talk about what companies.
backtracking history from
Oh,
the Google stock.
So what, so let's take some new data.
You need to change your order to
So did you
6.
get, the Yahoo?
Yeah, I got it from you, yeah, finance.
Oh, okay. And you have the data?
Yes,
Okay, so you have the data. So, do you know how to do a chart?
yes.
You did the chart?
What are you computing? I'm
No, not yet.
Okay,
What are you computing?
okay.
Oh, what am I computing?
Yeah.
Take this thing.
The two R squared minus each other?
You know Excel has like math formulas in there.
I know, but I don't know how to use it like you, so.
Anthem, say that.
Go for it.
All right. I'm gonna do a chart for the open and the close, right? So I'm gonna highlight, you can do it for like even, if you want, I'm gonna even just do it for this 24, right? I'm gonna highlight this.
So I don't do it for high and low, just open and close?
No, just for open.
Open.
We're just doing, we're
Date
just,
and open.
what?
I was telling her date and open.
Date and open.
Okay, got it.
It's the exact same thing. Think about it, it's just the day before. The open is the.
So change it?
It's the same thing, it's just like one day. Do you understand that? Cool. No, you don't.
I know. I know.
Are you guys doing more now?
Well, yeah, we need your,
So
we need you, so that can all
Right
be
here,
there.
turn around.
What companies do you want to do there?
Okay. Then I insert chart, right? And once I insert, did you get insert chart?
Yeah, I have the line options open.
Right, and then I have my line options, and I wanna do line with markers.
Wait, line with markers?
Mhm.
Do like,
Okay,
EDI.
Wait.
and so now I have my, line of marks. Got it?
Mhm.
And now I can click on any of the dots, right?
Yeah.
And then I right click and then I can add my trend line. So when I add my trend line, you can see here I have a trend line, and I can do either linear, or I can do poly. Poly means what? What's the difference between linear and poly?
Probably gives you more, it gives you the curve.
It gives me the curve, because what am I trying to do? I'm trying to forecast, and the stock market, do you think the stock market data is in a linear fashion?
Nope.
No way, right? So I'm gonna start with the linear right there, right? And it highlights first linear, so I'm gonna use the linear right there. And you see here the dotted line here?
Yeah.
You can see that it's going right across here for my linear. So I can do the linear one, and I'll start with the linear, and then what I wanna do is I wanna not only just see what I have present, but I wanna forecast. I wanna see what's in the future.
Okay.
In order to the future, I have forward. You see here where I have forward periods?
Yeah.
So I have forward periods, and how many periods
Six.
do I wanna forecast?
6.
6 periods, right? And in terms of doing 6 periods, I wanna display the equation on the chart, and I wanna display the R square on the chart. Okay? And probably a good idea, you see this little paint
Yeah.
here, is in terms of color, is let's make it red, or whatever, so I can stand out more. Okay? So it basically thinks, what stock did you have? It basically, so this is forecasting in the future it'll do how well? It'll do well, which direction? Up. That's what it's forecasting, okay? So I got that part. Then I'm gonna go back, highlight one of the dots. I'll right click and I'll add a trend line. And instead of linear, what should I choose?
Polynomial.
Polynomial. Now, if I look at the polynomial, you see already it's in blue. It's kind of like dotted blue, right? So in this case, dotted blue, one of the things that I want to show here, my linear regression had an R square of 0.6791. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So now, and what I want to do also, you see here, I want to set my display, and I want to set my R square on the chart. Already, I can even just move this a little bit down. So already on the second, you can see on that second one, when I had a little bit better R square, right? It went from 67 to 75.
Changing the
Or the polynomial order.
But in the order, so I'm gonna check to see what's gonna give me a better, this gives me 80, right? This gives me 89. This seems like it gives me 84. And this gives me really good, this gives me 96, the 6th order, right? So you can just send here, this gives me 84, this gives me, right, the 5th order. Now, what I want here too, is I want to use the forward of 6 periods, right? And I'll use, look at the 6 periods, see here's 6, and here's 5.
You know, AM's even.
Yeah, what about this?
Like, how do I get
I can
into
do
this?
5.
How do I look at the list?
I'll do 6, just for the heck of it, okay?
What company do
So
you
I
like?
do 6, this is
Target.
496,
Target?
and this one is 67 right here, okay?
Okay.
T easy too.
And this one, so my polynomial is saying what? That it looks like it's going up, and this one goes going down. Okay?
Is North
Yeah.
a company?
What's the order mean next to the polynomial?
Or-
Like what did we, like when you're changing it from like,
So
you're
it's
seeing the
okay.
R square change, what is the, what is that?
Oh, it means the additional, here to the sixth order, to the fifth order, to the
Okay.
fourth order.
JWA?
That's
That
it.
works for me.
Okay? What's your other question? So did you get that part?
Yeah, I have it. but
Okay. Now what's the question?
When you demonstrated in class,
Yeah.
there was
What else?
a green line, a red line, a black line, and then there was 4 lines in total.
That's BUF.
Or you,
I'm
what
not
do you
sure. But here I'm just, all you need to worry about is a linear and a
And what
poly.
companies do
So
it?
just
Okay.
linear.
Like you already gave her like.
Linear
the
and poly.
Yeah.
And having the equations on the graph is okay?
Okay, so
Yeah.
they're not really.
And then do the graph, and then you can even put them here too.
Okay, alright.
And then show the difference,
Starbucks go first.
right? This is going to be,
That's
then,
BUX.
this is gonna be then the difference between.
That's BUX.
Now, what I did, any questions on that? Now, you're my advanced class already, so I can tell you what we'll discuss in the future here, is what's important, once you get this, is this is for one time. You did this for last week's data, right? What was the last date on your data? The 13th, right? What's today's date?
17.
The 17th. So the question is, we're forecasting in advance, right? We're forecasting in the future. Now what we want to be able to see is our forecast correct? Because that's the key, it wasn't right. It told me, one told me to go, it's going up, one tells me it's going straight ahead, right? It's basically flat. So the question is, what is it gonna be in the future? How do you find out?
What's the story?
There's gotta be some kind of like forecasting model on Excel or something.
Right, yeah, there is, exactly.
I can ask.
So I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Finding the difference, you're
Me
saying the
too.
difference between the forecasted models that we just did?
Yeah, basically, this had an R square of 96%, and this had an R square of 0.67, so what was the gain,
Okay.
right? Just basically taking the poly minus the linear is gonna give me the gain. The poly is so much percent.
And for
Now-
how many stops do you want us to do this for?
You can do it for a few at least, that you're gonna be able to do in the health sector, that you can forecast. Now, this is the key for you guys. How can you tell, you forecasted last week about this week? So how can you tell, do you have data to tell me how well it did?
Or do you have to, solve for it?
No.
Can't we just like delete the last 5 days and then?
No, what we can do, what day is today? Today is what?
Monday.
Monday. Do we have Monday in our data? Can we find what Monday's open was?
Yep.
So let me show you. You're gonna get so excited about this. Okay, I'm giving you a preview of what we'll do next week. So what we wanna do, let me quote, everybody with me on this one, okay? What we say. So what I want is if you go to Blackboard, under course documents, there should be an Excel forecast program. Your regular Blackboard, your regular program, but I can just show you here. I forecasted it from this date, from Monday, August 13th through September 12th. Everybody see that in yellow? But I know I know Monday's date, right? Which was 2/21. So basically what you can do now is go and download, take one company and download the open. Go back to Yahoo Finance, right? Finance Yahoo, and download up to today's date. And you can see that Yahoo, let's say this was Apple, was 2/22/15. Right? My model said what was Apple gonna do. One said it was gonna go up, and the other looks like it was gonna go up like a little bit, right? So how did it do?
Went down.
It went down. The actual was 225. And what you can do is you can use a function, a built-in function in Excel to forecast what today's date is supposed to be. And it's forecast.linear. So basically what you do, you know how to use a function, right? You know how to use a function in Excel. Go to then Excel's then forecast linear. And basically what you have to do is talk about the date in which you want to forecast, which is Monday, September 29th. The range is what I'm gonna forecast, what I've looked at the forecast from last time, right? And the second set of data is from the first. And then Excel forecasted in a linear fashion of 222, and the error was $7. So it was off by $7. Yes, that's
Is
all.
there like, is that the one we're gonna stick with?
Well, right now, we're just doing linear because it's simple.
Yeah.
But later on, we'll forecast, right, and I'll show you how to do that. What is your major?
Analytics.
Oh.
I'm actually in a simulation class where we did this with like thousands of simulations to get like the next stock price.
Yeah.
I don't remember like the formulas we used, but it was like
Right.
stuff along those lines.
Right, but the same idea, so it's perfect. So it's perfect. And then we'll do what I talked about, NinjaTrader. Do you have a Windows machine? We also have it.
Yeah, I have one at home, yeah.
Right, so in a Windows machine, download, and you can work with others, go to NinjaTrader.com and download two versions, NT7 and NT8, and it's free. And that's a platform that, what the beauty there is, a platform that has all the built-in functions for stock with the code, and then then you can give it, let's say, all the health sector stocks. Give it, maybe the biotech, and then you have another one for pharmaceuticals, and it will go through all the stocks in an instrument list, and then it will rank for you the ones that are here. So, go to your course documents, go to your audit area, and make yourself another subdirectory in your course documents for Excel forecasting. And then upload it as an item, and you know what, in the item, in the description, you can give like a little scenario, like R squared, just put the stocks that you looked at in the R squared.
The R squared.
Okay?
One last question.
Yes.
Can you go over the forecast for the
Which forecast?
The one they did for
With the
Monday,
prices.
September seventeenth?
Igual.
Are you ready for the short forecast?
Oh, how I did that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go over it next time, but just so you know, is basically all I did was I just go to the functions, right, and I'm gonna
No,
look
it's a choose
for,
the
in this case,
Oh, it's a
I'm gonna
poly
look
minus
for forecast.
From the,
Right, or, right, let me just, or I can go back and recommend it here. I
Thank
can
you,
go,
Professor.
you're welcome, I'm glad I could help.
Yeah, see you next week.
Yeah, you can go to statistical and look for forecast.
subtraction.
Forecast.
Right,
Yeah, one is gonna be.
Yeah, forecast.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a file.
That's it.
I have a
I'm
file.
done.
You're done? I'm not sure how to go over this.
If you don't pop. I didn't do mine yet.
And then you put in, once you put that in, did you get it?
Yeah.
And then once you get the forecast then linear, then you can use this for the day, which you wanna predict. And these are your dates. These are your B3 through 124, my opening prices. And this is my dates, 8/3 through 8/24. Okay? Can you be so kind and turn off the?
Yeah.
Is it okay if my dates are like this at the bottom?
Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, the dates are here. You know how yours go like that?